Hi there, it's Mike Brach. I'm here to talk with you today about some basics for punching. And this is important because if you think about boxing training or if you think about anything in life, it all comes back to these old ideas from neuroplasticity. What is that, you wonder? Neuroplasticity is this old idea with a fancy name that really just means use it or lose it. Or some people would say use it and improve it, meaning the more we do something, the better it works in our brain, the stronger those neural connections become, and the more it becomes almost like a reflex or a simple process instead of requiring a lot of thought and a lot of effort. And that's why boxing training is so helpful for movement disorders, Parkinson's disease, and a whole lot of other things. So in today's video, I want to go over a couple basic punches with you so you can really feel good about it. You'll see I've already got these gloves on from Century Martial Arts. They're great gloves. If you have questions about how to do hand wraps, which are very important, and I'm wearing underneath these gloves, they stabilize your wrist, they stabilize your hands. Please see the video on how to use your hand wraps, because if you're going to do this stuff, you might as well be safe while you're doing it, right? So I want you to see here a few things. And if you think back to a recent video about stance basics, one of the things we talked about was making sure your hips and your shoulders are squared up to your target, and we talked about hand position. So we talked about starting with your feet about shoulder width apart. We talked about taking one foot and putting it slightly behind but maintaining that width. And then we talked about bringing your hands up. How high? Well, definitely above shoulder height. It's helpful to pretend that you've got magnets here on your eyebrows or on your cheeks. Because if you think about actually getting in a real fight, if your hands are down here, that's not doing you any good. Or if you think about the workout we're trying to get with boxing training, why not keep your shoulders active? Why not work on keeping your shoulder blades in good position and work on maintaining your balance from a proper stance? So from our fighting stance, and if you need more information on that, please see the fighting stance video, the stance basics videos. But from your fighting stance, you can see how I've got one leg forward and one leg backward. The hand that's on that same side as the forward leg, we're going to call our front hand. And that's going to be the key for our first punch. Our first punch is a quick punch. It's intended to use our distance, catch our opponent off guard. It's a punch where we really reach, and it's called a jab. So you've seen it in boxing, you've seen it on TV, you've heard it a lot in the movies and everywhere else, but a quick jab can really be helpful. So when you think about jabbing, I want you to think about your front hand, and you're reaching out, really stretching it out straight forward. To give you a better angle, punching the punching bag here. We're squared up, we're in a good fighting stance. Feet are shoulder width, we got a slight bend in the knees, back is up straight, hands are up high. We got one hand forward, one hand backward. We know the front hand is gonna be our jabbing hand. And with that jabbing hand, we really wanna reach and turn slightly into it. So if you think about it, when you make impact, your elbow shouldn't quite be locked out so you're hyperextending, because that'll just create a lot of pain in here, but it should be pretty straight. So when you make impact, your arm's pretty straight, and that way you've got really good distance here. So let's just do a few on each side. So we're gonna jab, reach out, snap it back up high. Jab out, snap it back up high. Jab out, snap it back up high. And you might say, I don't have one of these punching bags at home. That's okay, you can punch the air even. Some action is better than no action. So, getting back in our fighting stance, punching a safe target with proper equipment on, we're gonna jab out and back. Let's do 10 quick ones, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so you notice with each of those, I'm not making impact right here because a jab is not a close range punch. A jab is a straight punch. It's a good punch for using our distance, using our reach, and it's a fast punch. And if you think about why would we punch off the front hand rather than the back hand for a jab? Well, a jab coming off the front hand, you see, it's a shorter distance than from our back hand. So our front hand is for speed. In this case, our back hand is for power. So traditional boxing, you'd stay on one side. And right-handed people would have their right hand back for their power punch. Left-handed people, known as southpaws, non-traditional fighters, they would be in a southpaw stance. So their right foot would be forward, left foot would be back. So your left hand would be your power hand, and your right hand would be your jabbing hand. So let's try going off of this side, because for the work we're doing, if we can balance out both sides, that's even better. So, jab, we're going to reach, we're going to pull it back. We're going to keep our back up straight too. You notice I'm not leaning in? Keep your back up, that way you can see what's in front of you. Reach out, pull back. Reach out, pull back. Reach out, pull back. So we'll do 10 of them right now, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, so with jabs, you're thinking about speed, you're thinking about straight punching out, and then one thing you might have seen on this side, it was easier to view from that angle, is if you're thinking about protecting your head in good fighting stance, what you might do with your jab is really kind of tuck your cheek in. You might say, well, hey, I don't want to smell my armpit. That's ridiculous. But if it stinks in there, we've got an old saying in my old Kung Fu, Shuai Jiao, and fighting classes, which is, that's the smell of victory. So don't worry about smelling victory. Don't worry about sweating. Just worry about reaching with that jab. And if you can think about it, tuck your cheek in here behind your shoulder. Tuck. You can see how for a fight that would be really helpful, because if somebody's going to make impact, if they're punching at you, it's going to kind of glide off your arm instead of hitting you right there in the cheek, which wouldn't be very fun, would it? So we've done 10 with the left hand jabbing in a right-handed stance. We've done 10 with the right hand jabbing in a southpaw or lefty stance. Now what we can do for our jab is we can switch. So we can throw a jab, we can throw several of them in a row. And then if you're mobile enough to take a step forward and step back quickly to change your stance, great. If you need to grab onto something to do it, that's fine too. Or if after 10 jabs you're able to jump switch, that's even better. Muhammad Ali was very famous for those jump switches. He would switch back. It was beautiful. I'm not even doing it justice in this video, but I'm sure you can search for him on YouTube and see the incredible footwork from the greatest. Anyway, let's do some jabs, shall we? So we'll do 10, we'll jump, so we'll switch sides, we'll do 10 on the other. And if you can't jump, what can you do? Hopefully you can step back and step forward to change your stance. If you need to hang on to something, that's fine too. Or if you're sitting in a chair and you're doing this, just start punching off the other side. We can modify all of this. So here we go. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you notice how I'm not really hanging that out here, right? We're not doing this thing. We're trying to snap it out and back. Bring it out, snap it back. So that's the basics for your jabbing. That ought to go a long way in helping you train at home. Thanks for paying attention. And if you have any questions, use the email address down below at the bottom of the video. Take care.